Ladies and gentlemen, and everybody in between, welcome to m4music Festival and our panel today about songwriting and Switzerland. My name is Rachel Harder. I'm a musicologist and obviously a drag queen living in Lucerne. And yeah, I'm very pleased to host this panel today since we have two very, very interesting guests. Of whom you probably already know the names, but anyways, I want to give you a short introduction and briefly present them. First of all, we have Andrea Stolpe. She is a American former Nashville staff songwriter. Her songs have been recorded by artists including Faith Hill and Jimmy Wayne. And she has held songwriting positions at Universal Music Publishing, EMI, and Elmore Irving. She now works with musicians around the world through in-person retreats and her online school, the EMC Institute. You can also check this out on her homepage, andreastolpe.com. She created the course Commercial Songwriting Techniques, which is part of the Berklee College of Music curriculum. And she's also the author of popular lyric writing, 10 Steps to Effective Storytelling. So her working experience includes more than 20 years in Los Angeles music industry in these different working places, and she helped shaping the popular music program at the University of Southern California as well, connecting and helping artists across cultures. Yeah, we highly recommend her online workshop on YouTube, Becoming a Songwriter. So check it out. It's 2.5 hours, full packed of very important information for young composers and musicians. Our second guest is Gregor Schwellenbach. He is a multi-instrumentalist, arranger, and composer for TV, cinema, theater, radio plays, and his internationally acclaimed chamber music tribute to the techno label Compact was awarded with the VIA Indie Award for Best Experiment. At the Wolfgang University of Arts in Essen, he has been teaching there for over 11 years, and he was playing a key role in developing the master's program in popular music. He works with rappers, dance producers, and the founder of the band Ken Irmin Schmidt, with whom he shares a long-standing artistic partnership. With the program Six Pianos, he has performed multiple times at the Philharmonic Halls in Berlin, Cologne, and Hamburg. So also this was a very, very successful program. Now we have a little show reel of Gregor's work that you can check out. Enjoy.
Correlation of life, bringing down the skies on this night. Touch it with your bare hands, plowing through some height, plowing through what clouds used to hide. And it feels like you might understand it some more.
Und Gregor Schwellenbach hat das Arrangement gemacht für heute.
Das sieht jetzt so aus, als ob hier so ganz fremde Welten zusammentreffen. So einer ist so wahnsinnig Straße und so real, wie man nur in Deutschland sein kann. Und der trifft dann hier dieses Orchester und diesen ganzen Klassikapparat. Und der Witz ist aber, da kommt er ja her. Er samplet ja seinen Vater in dem Song. Und dann ist es so ein bisschen anders gekommen und jetzt kommt er wieder zurück. Und darum auch der Move, dass er zum Schluss selber Klavier spielt, weil man denkt, so, eigentlich ist das der Ausgangspunkt mal gewesen und das ganze Gangster-Ding war der Umweg.
Yeah, as you can see, we have two persons that are really specialized in songwriting and music in general, and yeah, have a great expertise. So yeah, I'm very happy to welcome these two persons, which are called Andrea Stolpe and Gregor Schwellenbach. Big applause. Yeah, welcome, Gregor. Welcome, Andrea. First of all, I think the audience wants to get to know you a little bit better. And so the question is, what are you both doing here? Starting with you, Gregor, you've been at Cologne for many, many years working there and now moved recently to Zurich. So what was your professional motivation for that?
um, the things that you just saw that were typical recent works as an artist in Germany. That was the first one was a song that I composed for a film soundtrack, and it was performed by Xatar, an indie artist from Berlin. Second one was a collaboration with the late brother Xatar, a German rapper who died last year. And the last one was Soli. I'm a big fan of the rapper Soli. I recommend you all listen to Soli, but he was sold out in Zurich anyway. So this is a typical thing that I did in my German life, and once per week I hopped on a train and went to Essen to teach and to develop or help developing an education program, a master's program for pop music. And then at some point last year, Johanna Jelice from ZHDK was looking for an expert in pop music education to further develop the ZHDK pop program. And I was like, I can do that. I would like to. And yeah, and I was chosen. And it's a part-time job, but still I thought if I want to do this, I should learn the spirit of the Swiss music scene. I should get a feeling for Zurich and Zurichian subculture, and I should go all in. And so I rented one of those unaffordable flats and just went here, and here I am.
And we are happy to have you here, obviously, Gregor.
Thank you.
Andrea, you had a big career in the US as a Nashville staff songwriter, also songwriting at Universal Music Publishing, EMI, and Armo Werbing. How come that you moved to Basel and in general to Switzerland? What was your professional motivation for that?
Yeah, what am I doing here? I asked myself this question. Honestly, I came here to reconnect with my desire to do music. The music industries of Nashville, where I worked for 10 years, and of LA are distinct, narrow, and sometimes very transactional. And my job was to get good at making sure that transaction happened. A very, very specific sound, type of song, even what the song is about. You know, you make yourself limited, so you're very pitchable. And I think I get to a point too where I like to make my own music as well. I like to explore who I am as an artist. And I believed that getting out of town, as a lot of independent artists do who stay in the States and have independent careers touring and pitching and sync music licensing and kind of patchworking a career together, it's good to get out of the mainstream, right? You get clarity about what's important to you, what you value, what you sound like that's distinct and potent and not like everybody else, and begin to value that. So that's why I'm here.
Very interesting. I mean, as we just heard or just learned, you both have very different professional backgrounds. Gregor, you yeah, more in this academic field and working structurally, creating academic programs successfully, and teaching practically. First of all, Andrea, you're more in this in-person retreats teaching and also online, and you're leading authority, a luminary of songwriting.
So leading authority.
You are. And from this point of view, you have different point of views on that. Andrea, what are your first impressions of the music scene here in Switzerland?
I love it. I absolutely love it. It's smaller. I'm in Basel, and I walked by Caserna many weeks before I knew what it was, and I always noticed there were people hanging out there and music going on. And it feels open. It feels community and culturally driven, which is amazing. I'm not used to music being openly connected to culture and that being encouraged. It feels I'm kind of used to more of a guarded. Even the individual is a little bit more guarded. That this sense of you don't know what I've had to give up to do music these 15 years kind of maybe keeps people a little insulated and not as open to sharing. So I have been so warmly received here, and I'm really grateful for that. As I try to understand what can I contribute, and my husband, who's a music producer, my producer, what can we give to this community, which first comes from understanding who we are here. So yeah.
Gregor.
Yeah, it's hard for me to tell which is typical for the Swiss music scene or maybe typical for Swiss in general. As a German, I came here with the cliche of people in Swiss are averagely more precise than Germans, and I experienced that as absolutely true. When I'm at meetings and I'm the one who's 1 minute late and everybody says, "Why are you late?" and I'm like, and
We're 15 minutes late for the meet. An hour.
yes,
Yeah.
I was typical me. Yes, that's what
because of
happens every
karaoke
day to
yesterday.
me. It happens to me. So yeah, and for the music scene, that means the level of craft at Xatar is amazing. Like they have so tough ear training tests, and as a teacher, that's very nice. If I play music to the students and they can all write it down and play along, that level of craft makes you free because we can discuss on art and music because everybody knows what they listen to anyway because they hear it all. So that's nice. On the other hand, if everybody's so precise and crafty, I didn't find the punky subcultural places yet. I'm sure there are some subcultural punky DIY spaces. I didn't find them yet. I'm new here. So yeah, but well, there's one thing that I found on my first day in uni. I asked all the students what kind of music they all do, and everybody, also the drummers and the guitarists, they all said they write songs. And most of them said they write songs in Swiss German. And I thought, here is something going on, because nobody told them it's cool, but still they all want to do it. And I think then it's cool. If you all do it, even though nobody tells you it's cool, then you are actually cool. So I'm foreseeing a new wave of Swiss German music, I guess, in 5 years.
Yeah, that's a very interesting apple. We're going to talk about this later again. We had a conversation before, and you both stated that music industry has changed a lot in the last decades, and primarily digitalization is a reason for it, of course. And yeah, can you tell us what was going on before and what has changed till today, basically?
Well, I mean, there's the obvious, right? It wasn't as easy to produce music. When I started out, I had a cassette tape in my back pocket and I walked up and down 2 streets in Nashville asking. I literally knocked on doors of publishers and asked if I could have a meeting. Now, Justin Bieber puts out an album, and then right after that album, he puts out another album of a total of 40 songs. 40 songs. 40. Like, so I'm asking myself, all right, so now, does he really have 40 works of, what used to take artists 2.5 years, to really let simmer and develop, now can be put out amongst all the other touring and, interviews and all the other things that they're doing. So it feels like it's such a, I think that the challenge is in the mind, because it feels like the goal is to be the loudest, most in the face. Don't leave, the room, because otherwise you'll be forgotten. And this is the kind of the fear in the back of the head. And I think the response is so anxiety provoking for us artists, especially if we're normal people with normal amounts of time. We don't have a team, of 16 people who are managing all these other aspects of our lives, so that when we go into the studio for 4 hours, 3 weeks in a row, it's done. It's an improper measure nowadays, and I'm really thoughtful about that with songwriters and with myself. Is what am I measuring my productivity against, the quality of my songs against? What am I thinking of is the goal here? Because it's really important to think about that now. And I think what the measure was, it used to be a bit more clear to me. And now I think a lot of times, I don't know.
I want to add the fact that when I started making music, the music industry worked like a label would support, let's say, 10, 20 young bands with here are 100,000 francs, go play. Today, they support bands like, your music is great, come back when you have 100,000 fans and we can help you organizing this, but the music industry doesn't give you the space the first years to find your voice. Enter institutional music education. So in the 80s, it was not cool to study music. You could study classical music, but if you're cool, you just do play with your band. And today, you need the space to develop your own thing. And the colleges, the universities of art can be one space where you have this possibility. And you have those 5 years to grow and to find out who you are. And that's why today I'm proud to be a pop music teacher, when at the same time I think the most pop thing you can do is I don't do what my teacher tells me to. But today that makes sense in a way.
So we've talked about how time has changed. Now I think we can also talk about the different places where you've been working. So there are also decisive differences between the US market and Europe concerning educational and professional concepts. And yeah, can you tell us more about similarities and common points concerning songwriting, the academic field, the music industry in general, and yeah, but also point out the differences between the US and Europe. Maybe, Andrea, you start as an expert of the US.
Okay, sure. Well, so I'm not familiar with how it is taught here, but I will explain a little bit about how and why people go to Berklee College of Music, which is where I went, or USC, University of Southern California, which is second runner up, we always say, to Berkeley. One reason why anyone would go to USC is because it's in the middle of the LA music market. So a lot of the students there use it as a conduit to the market. So they network through the college. And undoubtedly, this is something that is taught at both colleges where you're encouraged to network. And this alumni community becomes your community that you rise up kind of the ladder with. So there's a great deal that, of course, is learned in music school. But I think probably the most instrumental thing is engaging with others in your class, in your cohort, while, yes, taking the classes. So much, though, is learned through experience, right? You go out and you play in a band for 5 years, you know a heck of a lot about a lot of things that you wouldn't necessarily feel and know just by taking the event planning class, right? Or anything like that. So, yes, you learn arranging. Yes, you learn tools of songwriting. But it's that creativity that you haven't had the chance to apply. How do I use this tool in my situation? So in the US, I imagine it's similar to here in that you play in ensembles, you take basic music language classes, but it's the unspoken things. How do I thought I was a singer when I got here, but now I'm not so sure. You know, gee, I thought I shouldn't play keys while I while I play perform, but now I see somebody else doing this really simple part, and it just feels kind of natural. Maybe I should try that too. So I think it's this sense of really in a very safe, contained environment, finding out a little bit more about who you are, that who your strengths are, big time, and maybe some of your weaknesses, so you can make decisions coming out of there of where you might be most successful going forward.
That sounds pretty similar to Europe, like the fact that experience is key and that connections to your class and the unspoken things. And that's all. I would say that it goes for Switzerland as well. I don't know if it's on the same level because here's some thought that I had today. In Germany, after the war, some parts were in the West, some parts were American, and some parts were British. So the South was American, the North was British. That's why still the sound of pop music coming from Munich, Freiburg, Heidelberg, it's more soulful and funky, and the music from Hamburg is more ironic, political, punky. And Switzerland is very US oriented. I think in this moment, 4 of our students are in LA trying to make it there. So if you're good here, next step is you go to LA. So I'm not sure if here's the same, it's a very similar system, but I don't know if we are on the same level as USA. I would recommend the Swiss students to go to LA when they are successful here as a next step. So, yeah. And then there's one big difference is that our program is publicly funded. So it's the canton of Zurich pays me to educate guitar teachers and drum teachers and crazy artists. And well, the society says we need this. We need every year a couple of newcomers and a load of music teachers. And so they pay me to leave my home and come here. And that's, I like that.
Sounds good. Gregor, you have already noticed that there's a new wave of songwriting. So in Swiss German dialect, how does it come and why? What do you think about that?
First of all, I noticed that, as I said, that it's happening, and I'm still trying to figure out the thing with the actual Swiss German and the Swiss way of talking standard German and the standard German, and how is it connected to confidence or to topics. And basically, my theory, I wonder what you think of it, but my theory is if songs are so direct to the heart that they work very good in dialect or in local languages. I don't think they have to be, but it works pretty well. If you talk about your soul, to use the language of your parents. And then again, I have the feeling in Switzerland, often people are so höflich, so polite, that they distance from that thing. And maybe that's why that might be one reason why they didn't all sing in Swiss dialect forever. Maybe also because the big dream is the whole Dach market. So you want to be big in Berlin and Bielefeld and Hamburg. And I like this new thinking. One thing is, even in Berlin, people want to hear Swiss people sing in Swiss dialect. Then they have a more true spirit. And the other thing is, the music scene is, at the moment, the music industry is mixing up and defining itself anew, like in the times when the Tonfilm, when the silent movies were over and all the musicians didn't have jobs and they had to reorganize the industry. And today we have to reorganize the industry, and maybe today it's more local. Maybe today you have just 1,000 local super fans, and then you tour your canton and the next one, and that's fine for a professional thing. You don't always have to perform in Berlin. Maybe.
Yeah, now we are really talking about songwriting as itself. Truthfulness, sustainability, and authenticity. These are values that are often required and expected from an artist and theirs performance. And but on the other hand, there are commercial interests, of course, and also the desire for fame that artists have. Andrea, you called it the long game of making art. That is your quote from the artist's point of view. Yeah, you both. What do you have? Do you have any supportive hints or advice for young musicians, composers, artists to combine? These contrary aspects. Andrea, maybe you start.
Wow, I love that question. We're often going for authenticity, but that's the nature of us as musicians, right? Nothing that I say is going to make you be like, oh, yes, now I know how to be authentic. That's just not going to happen. But I think you can connect with a part of you that maybe feels a little vulnerable or insecure. So, for example, I guess, are you open to a crazy American asking you to do something. I don't know if this is appropriate here. It would be appropriate at ASCAP Expo or whatever. Could you turn around and tell the person in back sitting behind you, I'm assuming you don't know them, introduce yourself and tell them what your music really sounds like. Not, it's singer-songwriter, it's alternative. I don't care about genre. That just says, here's how you would categorize me if you put me on a playlist. That's really boring. What do you make and why do you make it? Give it a try. Turn around if you make music and tell them.
You can also take the partner, which is sitting right next to you. I mean, that makes it easier.
Sorry, a little diversion. Okay.
Maybe music says the is the
Okay.
So thank you very much. Wow, so much conversation going on.
Yes.
There's many things to tell.
Okay. So the point, I think, I don't know how you felt when you turned around, but I would have felt something like, oh shit. How do I describe my music? Why does anyone really want to listen? I like my music, but I don't want to force it on anybody else. What do I do actually? How do I describe it? What is my mission? What do I care about? And could they care about the same thing? Because you know in your head somewhere somebody's going to like what you make, right? Especially in these days where you can theoretically get your music to anyone. There's something out there for everybody. That's, I think, the first question. And if you had a doubt in your mind about what it is that you do that's truly memorable or remarkable or distinct or an extension of you, go home and get clear on that. Really clear. Like, don't ask everybody for feedback. That's not a good idea. But ask 3 people you trust who understand the genre that you sound like you belong in, and ask them just to give you 5 adjectives that describe how they feel when they listen to your music. And then, also then look at yourself and say, do those things also describe me? Maybe not all of you, that's okay. And lean into that as hard as you possibly can and become more of that person, more of that character with your lyrics and your music. And it takes other people too. It takes collaboration with others. Nobody makes record 5 that's amazing. Nobody gets there on their own. There's a crap record, probably 3 of them. And then slowly they're defining who that is. That's honesty, I think. Just pursuing that raw expression.
Gregor, what do you think about it? Do you have any advices for young musician composers?
I absolutely agree with what Andrea just said. No. I like to believe that when you just do what you really want, if you manage not to imitate anyone, you will find your audience. And the artists are always the first ones who feel it. So when the young musician says, I feel like I should write my song in Swiss German, and the label says that might be not such a good idea because there's not enough listeners, maybe the artist is right and should do it anyway. And then if it happens to 20 artists at the same time, then there's some new wave. That's why I said that. So find out what you really want, and then don't let anyone put you away from it. Don't imitate.
So courage is very important. Yeah. And yeah, very nice. Thank you very much. Now we have a Q&A. If you have any questions to Andrea or Gregor, feel free to ask them. There you go.
I'm wondering, is there a way in Switzerland where you can get into songwriting as a ghostwriter, writing for other artists? Is there a platform or something that young songwriters can use?
I think it's always seen. So you have to meet people to get those jobs. I think there's no secret website that you are told when you get the master degree, and here's the secret website, and they will pick the best song. But it's always you have to go somewhere and meet people and make a name and make connections, and then you will find those jobs. That's what I think.
Yeah, I think you should do it immediately. I think you should write with the person you just met in back of you, and then I would love to meet everybody here. I'm kind of a writing slut at the moment, which is, I don't know, it's just where I'm at. But yeah, say yes and be very bold. If somebody doesn't have time, forget about it. Be a goldfish, like they say. Forget about it in 10 seconds. But meet everybody.
Thank you.
Anyone else? We had someone here in front. No? Yeah. There we go.
So from like the songwriting scene in Nashville, where I heard there's like people writing 2 songs a day, one in the morning, one in the afternoon, and then, but also going into very commercial fields there. If you're in like this small scene and maybe you do more, let's say, creative things, how would you go about this problem that you have in your own head in the end of like, I am way too slow with doing what I am doing, and then not lose the confidence to actually go through and not finish before you feel like it's where it should be?
Yeah, well, if you look at the people who are getting all the cuts, they're co-writing almost all the time, right? And that's the thing is, it's so easy to start thinking, oh, I'm not as talented as, the pros. But the thing is, if I gave you an assignment, I want you to design the next, what's a Swiss cereal? Muesli box, you'd be like, all right, I get it. People want to eat it for breakfast. They don't, there's things that you would put on the box and stuff you wouldn't put on the box. And it's very similar to, I think, writing in the commercial market it's almost like you're given a brief. If you're in Nashville, and especially if you're writing bro country, there are a few things you can write into that song, and many, many things you wouldn't because it's culturally created. So my point is that when you're that focused on doing one thing, you get quickly good at doing that one thing over and over and over and over again. There are slower writers, and they're valued not for their speed, but for the insight that they bring that is not what everybody brings. Because when you go commercial, suddenly you're imitating all the time now. We don't need another truck song, divorce song, all that stuff. So it gets back to, I think, the artist that you are is the most valuable part of you, because it will be what is distinct when you then say, okay, I'm playing a rock groove, but now I'm going to sing my words about my experiences, write my melodies. And it's just a little bit different, you know. It takes it in the new. And then how do you keep you go ahead and doubt, and you do it anyway, and you surround yourself with people who support you. I don't know any other way to do it. And you don't quit.
Thank you.
Yeah. So there we have another.
Hello. As an artist and songwriter, it's quite hard to find the right networks here in Switzerland, I feel like. And do you know of any songwriting camps or anything like that here in Switzerland? Or, yeah.
I once heard on a I did a songwriting workshop. Yeah, and someone put the question there, and they said just put the word songwriting camp into Google and just look and write every one that pops up. And I'm not sure if that's right. I think my experience is the good jobs are shared among friends. You have to become friends with the good people. So if you write songs, find other artists that you like who are on a similar success level like you, and send them your songs and say, those are mine. Do you want to sing them? And or maybe not you want to sing them, maybe just what do you think about them? Or can we be friends? Or can we do a double show together or so? And then you build your community, and then at some point it will become easier. I don't think it's possible only in the digital way. Like, what word do I have to type into my ChatGPT to find the songwriting camp? I think you need the friends that invite you because they want to write songs together.
Yeah, so exchanges and artistic partnerships are very important, as you said already before. Yeah. Do you have any more questions? Do we? Yeah, there.
You said earlier that we first need to find out what we are, who we are, and what we're good at, maybe not so good at. And I wanted to ask you, how do you go about it if you feel like there are multiple genres, multiple types of expressions that you have in your music? One day I want to do indie, the next day I feel like I want to write a song that sounds folky and like country, and the next day it's grunge. It feels like disjointed, and how do I keep an audience if I sound schizophrenic, you could say, in a sense, every day playing something else, or not knowing if that's something coherent?
Well, I have a thought or two. What if there is something coherent, but you're not using the words to describe it? You're speaking a different language. So what if the coherent is all of these songs are sort of lean forward energy, groove based? I really seem to be more of a groove based artist. You know, if you could, another way to think about that would be if you could imagine the perfect venue, what would it be? Not based on, you know, profitability or anything like that, but the perfect venue might be 80 seats, 80 to 100. What time of day is it that you would perform? Is it really late at night after everybody's drunk? Is it, you know, or is it relaxed, or is it high energy? What do people get when they get you? Because that's what you're offering, right? Our audience is just looking for someone to lead them forward. They have no idea when they see you on stage what they're going to get. They just know that you're in charge. And that's great when an artist says, it's okay, I gotcha. And they wait for us. They wait for you to do your thing. And when you do your thing in a way that they feel contained, they go with you, right? So realistically, the way to do this is not all at once. It's not like love at first sight. It's I'm going to write, I'm going to perform, and I'm going to look at what's happening when I do those things. And you're going to do it over and over again. It's not the, oh my God, I like your song. It's not the, you have such a great voice. That stuff doesn't matter. It's do people, how do they look like they're feeling when they're watching you? You know, that's the stuff. And when you feel those unspoken wavelengths are getting to you and you begin to understand who you are to them. And then, of course, the people you make music with will help reflect back to you when it's really working. And there's moments you feel it, you know, that was an awesome chord right there. This song works better than this song, you know? And it's all maybe well played, but it's not all got the soul. And you discover it over time. And you don't worry about it on a day-to-day basis. You look at it over okay, the past 6 months, here's some of what I've discovered, I think.
I would recommend not to limit yourself. If you spend some time in a indie rock scene and you have some fans that like your indie rock side, and then someday you feel like you want to do a boom bap thing, don't say I won't do it because I define myself as an indie artist. But just do anything you want to do, and at some point I guess you will write or you will find your style, and there is all in it. Like sometimes you listen to folky songwriters, but you can tell that they are experienced with hip hop because they used to be rappers, but now they write folk songs, but you can still hear their sensitivity for flows, or their good rhymes and their long lines also. And so anything you do will teach you something, and at some point in the future maybe you will find a style that connects it all. And if you don't, then you just do different music. So that's fine. But please don't limit yourself, because in the first years you defined yourself as I want to go for this playlist and that is all I want to do. That sounds like you limit yourself. Don't do it.
That's a very nice sentence. Don't limit yourself. I love that. Yeah. Do we have any more questions? I saw someone there in the back. Or here? Yeah.
I wanted to ask you, would you recommend to still write a bridge in a song? Because I saw nowadays, a lot of times it's only verse and chorus and no bridges anymore.
That depends very, very, very much. I think the question, I imagine that's not how a songwriter should think. I don't know if ever somebody told you write a song without a bridge because it should be this and that. Maybe yes. Okay, but
It's not that I think that way. It's just something that I see happening a lot. So I'm asking myself, why is this happening? Is it to get the song more in the head of the people?
yeah, of course the music is changing, and when I talk about what a Soli fan I am, and Soli makes a lot of songs that are less than 2 minutes, still they often have bridges, so anything should be possible.
Yeah.
And it depends very much on the genre, and yeah.
I agree completely. I mean, a bridge is a third section of a song. So there must be a reason why they're limiting to 2. I'm assuming it doesn't have a pre-chorus. Or maybe it does. Maybe it has a post-chorus. But those are all definitions that remind me of the intention is to grab people's interest quickly
Yeah.
until you contrast quickly. and then shift kind of back and forth is just for constant keep them in, keep them in, keep them in, which is absolutely a commercial function.
Of course, yeah.
Yeah, I think that is the thing, is we're trying to figure out, okay, can I write with commercial viability in mind? Can I be commercial while being an artist in mind? This is absolutely a sweet spot that we're penduluming back and forth between, and it's frustrating, but it is a reality of the job.
I want to remind you of the song Somebody That I Used to Know, which was a super hit twice. And it breaks every songwriting rule. It has a 2-minute intro. It does have a bridge, but very, very late, and it's not a song from the book, and still it was
Yes.
so big.
There's not like a recipe, yeah. Thank you.
So we go to the back. Yeah. You've been waiting
There?
too long.
Oh,
There. Yeah, and then we go to the left.
sorry, da bin ich.
I'm sorry. It's not really a question. I just wanted to say something to the person who asked about the songwriting camps. I didn't see who it was. Yeah. Maybe it's interesting for everyone. There is a Suiza songwriting camp happening in Zurich in June, and you can apply for it. I'm not from Suiza. I just learned about it myself, and they're really cool. So I can send you a link or show you the link later. Or, yeah, anyway, you have to check the Suiza website if you want to apply.
Great. Thank you very much for this hint. That helps a lot. Then we have...
Thank you. I was wondering what Andrea thinks about when it comes to AI in songwriting. Is it a question that bores you, or is it something... Yeah.
Yeah, no,
What do you think about it?
it's a very current question. It comes up a lot. I think AI, this is a boring answer, but it is a tool. I could put a lyric, or I could put a more of a description of what I want to hear back, and it's going to give me a template, something that is very much a vanilla recipe. So for the purpose of examining, okay, what makes this vanilla? What do I like about this? The beautiful thing about AI is I can write a song, give it to AI, and it'll pop it back to me. And now it feels very much like I'm attending, I'm listening to someone else's song, which puts me in a very unique position where now I can observe what I've written. And that we can't usually do as the writer, as the artist. When we're inside something, we have a limited perspective. So I really appreciate AI for that. I mean, it's played better than me on many things, I can tell you that. And that is alarming. But used as a tool, I have no problem with it. And it allows many of the songwriters I work with too to reach into to styles and even writing a happy song. A happy song is hard sometimes to write if you don't have the groove, right? Especially on pianos, these dang ballads all the time. So what a beautiful tool to be able to say, how can I see this in a different way? And then just take that and say, oh, I get it. And then go on your own path.
Thank you, Andrea. Do we have any more questions from the audience? Yeah.
About harmony. 4 is the new 1. Do we need new scale systems, or rather really break out the box of those 6 scale degrees chords? I think a lot of songs sound the same. They're catchy. It's a little bit of sound design that makes it catchy, but the harmonic information that the Beatles had, it gets lost if we too much get to this 4 chords only. Do you see it? There's a chance that songwriting will break out of this box, or do we need forever live with those 6 scale degrees? And AI will replicate those stuff, so we are stuck.
I think the fact that the diversity of harmony averagely is decreasing is another sign of the coin that other elements are getting more differentiated. So today we have much more. There's much more going on in flows, in rhythmical stuff, and also in sound design, as you said. If you want to be good, you should take care for microtonality, because we still have that in singing, because the voice doesn't stick by those 12 tempered tones, but the voice uses micro pitches as expressional tools. And I think we don't need more harmonies or more tones or so. I want to. I do teach the students modulations, so you can write a Beatles style or whatever David Bowie-ish song if you want to, but I don't criticize someone who only uses 1 or 2 chords in a song, because maybe then they have better flows or more interesting sounds or whatever.
Do we?
One more. The quote, 4 is the new 1, is an expression of the fact that the tonic is getting weaker, and that's super interesting. There's a lot of songs that you cannot tell if it's major or minor. You don't know where the 1 is, and that's an interesting thing.
Do we still have time for more questions? Yeah? Great. So, do we have more questions from the audience? Anyone?
If you want to hear music that sounds like Nashville, but is from Xatar and in Swiss dialect, I recommend you all to go see Melina Nora tonight. Just saying.
I'm interested in the visionary, like your ideas. If you had all the money you wanted, what kind of a songwriting camp would you design, and where, and what would you do? Who is it for?
Whoa, that's awesome. Oh my gosh. Is that an offer? This is exciting. Let's talk. Well, what I'm really interested in is establishing a perspective in which the artist can fix their own song with the least amount of reworking. This is what I try to teach. It's really difficult when you don't know where your songs land. Are they effective? Some people like some parts, but I know something's not quite right. It's like a fog. You don't quite know what thread to pull, and there's a lot of options. Should I write more complex chords, or is that my issue? Should I work with a producer and really explore different sounds, and then how should I track the whole band? Should I start with rhythm section? What really drives my music? So I think that the songwriting camp that I would do would be similar to the retreats in that it allows for curated collaborations to happen where you might have someone, you might mix genres, so not so worried about genre, but match people more on spirit and see what happens when you pair them. And then add in what is also typical in the writing process now, but starting with a track sometimes, starting with a beat, going a little, like in my own music, I could put you to sleep if I'm just left to my own devices because it's very warm and soft and long notes. And I sing, first I play, then I sing. I mean, that gets really kind of boring after a while, Nora Jones. So what we can do is notice that those things are happening, and then you can decide, do I want to continue to do that through every song? So you can experience what it's like to write with someone who leans forward, and find these accidental connections between sounds. Things I wouldn't have tried on my own because I don't have the instrumental skill or the pull to do them. You know, I think we stumble on, my last name means stumble, Stolpe. I just learned this. We stumble on our sound with the help of others saying that was cool what you did right there. And you're like, what? I was totally out of tune. Yes, you were, but it was the emotion that was really amazing. So I think that's what it would be. 5 days of that.
My dream songwriting camp would include some geniuses who are experienced in different fields of music, like who are maybe classically trained or jazz experienced. It would also include traditional musicians from other cultural settings. Some of my former students, because I loved them so much, and 3 kids.
Are there more questions? Any more questions? No? No. Okay. Then I think we can leave it like that. Thank you very much for your interesting questions and input at the very end, and thanks for coming in general. And have still a nice day and good concerts here at m4music Festival. And a big applause for our 2 guests, Andrea Stolpe and Gregor Schwellenbach.